just going to say a few things about Carol Ann Duffy's poem, The Captain of the 1964 Top of the Form Team. It's another of those dramatic monologues that Carol Ann Duffy uses as vehicles to present a character and for the exploration of themes. On this occasion, those themes being time and disappointment, frustration, nostalgia. Those are the key ideas that Duffy's toying around with in this particular poem. The narrator, narrator of the poem, the persona through which Duffy speaks here, takes us on a journey from adolescence to adulthood, an adolescence full of fizzing hope, that adjective, fizzing, a colloquial adjective that suggests the real sense of vivacity and energy that charges through the early parts of the poem before this curdles into quite a rancorous, bitter, frustrated, fully grown adult. That's the journey that Duffy takes us on. Once again, I'll just pick out a few key moments in the poem that should be worth picking up on when you're writing about this particular dramatic monologue. Notice that I keep using the phrase dramatic monologue because I hope that's one that you're going to deploy when you come to analyse this particular poem. In the first stanza, we have that adjective fizzing hope, the clever smell of my satchel, another key adjective there, clever. Everything about this person sort of brims with a sense of brightness, of real adolescent thrill at the knowledge that they've got. We get lots of short minor sentences. They're charging through the knowledge, the accumulation of facts that bind their identity together. We've got the simile, I pulled my hair forward with a steel comb that I blew like Mick. My lips numb as a 2-hour snog. So that simile drawing on Mick Jagger there. And then snog takes us in the second stanza to no snags. A little internal rhyme or half rhyme there. More facts, speeding through the facts. This is a very quick poem. I whooped at the side of my bike. The verb whooped conveying that thrill again, that sense of energy. A cowboy mounted it running in one jump. I sped down Dyke Hill. No hands, famous, learning. Again, these little, there's lots of caesura in this poem. It's a very choppy poem, but again, it's one that's full of speed and energy. At the end of the second stanza, carrying on through into the third, we have this little run of alliteration: Dominus, Domini, Dominum, Dave, D, Dorsey. Try me, come on. So the alliteration takes us from high culture to low culture, from the classics to not so classic pop music. The try me, come on, these imperatives that scatter the poem, they take on, as the poem goes on, an increasingly almost desperate edge, a real longing for the character to assert themselves as they feel their identity fading and slipping away. As a youngster, they're celebrated. My mother kept my mascot gong on the TV set for a year, and the photograph. I look so brainy you'd think I'd just had a bath. There is still that real sense of the gleaming knowledge, the blazer, the badge, the tie. Again, these short minor sentences, just a single noun phrase in each. The details of the life that still glows from the past. Even the sounds ring out across the decades. The first chord of a hard day's night, loud in my head. I ran to the spinney in my prize shoes. Again, the verb ran, this real sense of joy, of exuberance that charges through the poem. And again, I stamped the paw prints of badgers and skunks in the mud. And then the final noun phrase in the third stanza, my country. A phrase that seems full of identity, a sense of belonging, a sense of everything being right with the world. And it's this that turns in the fourth and final stanza as everything starts to sour. In the first person, the first words of the fourth stanza, I want it back. And now the poem lays itself bare as we get that real sense of disappointment. The captain, the one with all the answers, bzz, My name was in red on Lucille Green's jotter. The star has waned, everything has faded from what it was. I smiled as wide as a child who went missing on the way home from school. A really dark, potent simile, that one, that really captures the pathos, the sense of absence, almost of death, the persona has undergone. The keeney. Duffy still with the very colloquial language there through that noun, keeney. I say to my stale wife, and now we have a run of adjectives that really lay bare the real misery and hardcore melancholy of the narrator. Stale wife, my thick kids wince. Then we end with a run of questions. How can we know the dancer from the dance? Name the Prime Minister of Rhodesia. How many florins in a pound? Tellingly, Rhodesia, a country that no longer exists. Florins, a piece of currency that, again, equally anachronistic, equally obsolete, like the knowledge of this that this persona still prides themselves on, but everything else seems to have slipped away from them. And in the final stanza, it started with a repetition of that phrase, my country, everything that has gone from them. So a really interesting poem, this one that you can find a lot of comparisons with. I think in Larkin, think of a poem like Dockery and Son, which presents a character that is of course a version of Larkin. Doubt that this is a version of Caroline Duffy. Through these dramatic monologues, she just channels a totally different personality, but we can find lots of thematic similarities, and through the alliteration, the enjambment, the caesura, the similes, the really interesting choices of adjectives and verbs, lots that you can get your teeth into when you come to analyse this particular poem.